If you like playing as the giant characters in Tatsunoko vs Capcom, and you don't mind sacrificing good movement for big damage, then Galactus is for you in Ultimate Marvel vs Capcom 3. Galactus is a pretty complex character in the game's overall meta, and he never really found a proper place on the tier list due to various reasons, but I'll do my best to explain him. Overall, he is very slow, and he lacks solid movement options like a dash, teleport, flight, etc., so his movement does take some getting used to. However, he does make up for this with easy execution, big damage, and oppressive screen control that he uses to dominate neutral. He's also a solid middle or anchor character due to how he can effectively use meter to wipe out a character almost instantly, and TACing into him can limit your opponent's field of vision and attack range, which can give you a major advantage. Some of Galactus' pros are that he has little execution required. His normals are all very strong and they have good range, so you'll always be able to perform big damage moves with little effort. His supers are amazing, as while they have a long startup, it's near impossible to hit him out of a super, and when they come out, they go full screen and do massive damage. His snapback also doesn't cost any meter, so you can always rely on the move even when you're low on meter, and realistically, I know I said that he's best as a middle or an anchor character, but he really can work in any position that you want him to. He's very versatile. Some of Galactus' cons are that his movement is very slow and highly committal. Even something as simple as walking forward locks you out of inputting anything else for a few seconds, so you have to be very careful when choosing to move around the screen. However, you can use a famous technique that the pros like to use called a galaxy dash to properly move around. If you mash either left or right depending on the direction you wish to go in, you can easily move around the screen without having to commit to something big. He also has a pretty hard time dealing with characters who can do multiple hits very quickly, as their damage will add up over time, and characters who can teleport and fly around the screen will pose trouble for Galactus due to their evasiveness. Out of Galactus' 3 assists, I recommend his Alpha assist. The reason for this is because for some reason his Beta and his Gamma assist just don't work at all, they have no hitbox. Only the Alpha assist can hit the enemy, and if it does 200,000 points of damage, so it's your only choice. Standing Light is a big swipe that travels roughly 3/4 around the screen. It does 150,000 damage, and it's a great tool to use when attempting to get the enemy away from you, although this move will not reach enemies who are super jumping, so keep that in mind. Standing Medium is a ground slam that does 200,000 damage and it hits full screen. It can be looped into itself, but the startup prevents it from comboing properly, so you need to use an assist or X Factor to combo into this move. Standing Heavy is Galactus' snapback, and it only travels around half screen. Overall, this move isn't that great as the poor range limits its use in an actual match, but if you have the enemy cornered, you can try to go for this to force a snapback, but in mid-screen, avoid this move and use something else. Launcher is a massive energy-fueled ground pound that travels full screen and does 450,000 damage, which is insane for a meterless normal. It has horrible startup, but the range and sheer damage output more than makes up for this. I recommend using this move often to bully your opponent into respecting your space and neutral, and to show them that even if they're far away from you, they still have to fear you. Down and any attack button will give you another ground pound, but this one doesn't travel full screen. It does 300,000 damage however, so if the enemy is close to you and likes to jump around, use this move in conjunction with Standing Medium. Forward and any attack will give you a full screen punch that can be cancelled into itself for a combo. If the enemy likes to stay grounded and shoot you from a distance, use this move to knock some sense into them. Up in any attack will give you the Finger Laser, Galactus' primary zoning tool. It has slow startup, but it does over 100,000 damage, which is pretty good for a meterless normal. However, if the enemy is in the air at around super height distance, it's going to miss them, so don't spam this move recklessly because you can and will be punished for misusing it. Back in any attack will give you the Eye Laser. It starts off low to catch grounded opponents, but on hit, it'll bring them to the sky for huge damage. This move can also lead to devastating happy birthdays if you catch an assist, so go for this move often if the enemy likes to fly away and stay at super jump height. Quarter circle back in any attack button will give you Galactus' full screen command grab. On a hit, this leads to big damage and it places the enemy into a hard knockdown state. However, they can easily avoid it by doing a super jump, so use this move sparingly. DP motion and 2 buttons will give you a more powerful version of the Finger Lasers. If you want to play a defensive zoning oriented Galactus as most pros do, then use this move often. It has very slow startup, but the damage and space control it offers is excellent, so overall this move is great at controlling the horizontal space right in front of you. Quarter circle back and 2 buttons will give you a set of full screen lasers that will instantly KO the enemy if it connects. Their only hope is to push block, but even this will deal massive chip damage. If the enemy likes to fly away from you, use this move to catch them and force them to be on the defensive. DP Motion and Light will give you Planet Destroyer, Galactus' instant kill move. This move has very long startup, and if the enemy can hit you enough times during this, you'll be knocked out of it and stunned for a few seconds, leaving you completely vulnerable. I recommend using this move when there's only one character left on the enemy's team to ensure victory for your team. Due to the very slow startup of Galactus' moves, combos with him are nearly impossible to perform, but here's an infinite that I found. Galactus' most popular partners are characters that rough the enemy up before Galactus himself comes out to deal the final blow. Some good characters for this include Akuma, Wesker, Doctor Doom, and Dormammu, but most other characters will also work. Keep in mind that Galactus does not provide an OTG with his assists, so if you're using a character like Ryu who lacks a meterless OTG, you'll have to plan for that. Overall, Galactus is a strong, upper mid-tier character who can turn the tide of a battle if played effectively. While he does lack solid movement and strong assists, he makes up for it with impressive range and monstrous damage. Next time you play in a tournament, make sure to use Galactus to give the enemy a surprise. Thanks for watching, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.